before I introduce myself and the rest of the commission introduce themselves, in a few days, we will be commemorating 9/11. I wanted to take a moment. History teaches us that we lost close to 2,900 plus individuals. For those of you who lost family members, God bless you. For those of you who have family members who still have memories of that day, God bless you as well. I'd like to take 60 seconds in memorial memorandum for 9/11. Thank you all. My name is Harry Spikes. I am the chairman for the Commission for Historical and Architectural Preservation, and I'll allow everyone else to introduce themselves as well.
Lauren Chiswick, Executive Director.
John Bullock, City Council Representative to the Commission.
Ann Powell, representing Greater Baltimore Committee.
Peter Morrill, Commissioner.
Kapal Lim, Commissioner.
Catherine Good, Commissioner.
Sarah Langmead, Commissioner.
Nicole Battle, Vice Chair. Tamara Woods, Commissioner representing DHCD.
Cool.
Anthony Stewart, CHAP staff.
Tyreek Charleuse, CHAP staff.
Eddie Leon, CHAP staff.
Rachel Donaldson, CHAP staff.
Thank you. The CHAP mission is to enhance and promote the culture and economy of Baltimore through the preservation of buildings, structures, sites, and neighborhoods that have aesthetic, historic, and architectural value. The goals of CHAP include preserving historical architecture and monuments, reclaiming broken neighborhoods, preventing demolition by neglect, and integrating our city's path into its future. I want to give you all just a couple of housekeeping rules. Outside, there is an agenda. Also, we have a list of anyone, if you would like to participate in public testimony, please sign your name. I usually give people 3 minutes. When I raise my gavel, you have 2 minutes and 30 seconds. Well, they got 30 seconds left to speak, but 2 minutes and 30 seconds is what you've used. You've got a 30-second warning when I lift it up. If you have your cell phone, you do not have to turn it off. You can put it on vibrate. If you have to take a call, please take it outside. We also want to say if you have to have conversation amongst yourself, please walk outside and have conversation with one another. I would like to make a motion to waive the reading of the minutes. Do I have a motion?
Move to waive the minutes. Okay.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any abstain? Any opposed? The ayes have it. Are there corrections or addition to the minutes? Seeing none, I would like to make a motion to adopt the minutes.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any abstain? The ayes have it. Due process and review procedures. CHAP reviews applications in conjunction with the building permit process of the permit section of the Department of Housing and Community Development. If a building permit application is filed prior to historic design review, the application is placed on hold, pending completion of the CHAP review process. The review process is completed by issuing an authorization to proceed. The historic design review process is in addition to other applicable laws and regulations and does not diminish the force of urban renewal plans, building codes, zoning codes, etc. It is the applicant's responsibility to comply with all applicable laws, regulations, and codes. Proposed projects are reviewed prior to issuing a building permit. Applicants must comply with the Baltimore City Historic Preservation Design Guidelines in planning and executing their projects. Design review considers the proposed work, taking into consideration the historical and architectural character of the structure and of the immediate area. Applicants will need to clearly explain how the project complies with the design guidelines. Minor projects. In order to expedite the application process, the Commission has delegated review authority to the Executive Director for cases involving minor work. Minor projects must not significantly change the overall appearance or remove the significant undamaged historic fabric. All minor work must clearly meet the design guidelines. Major projects. Major projects may change the overall character, appearance, and integrity of the structure. Substantial building alterations, demolitions, additions, and new constructions are considered major projects and are reviewed at a public hearing. Interested parties should request a pre-development meeting in the planning department to begin the review process. An electronic version of all materials must be submitted to the CHAP staff at least 25 calendar days prior to the public hearing date. If the application is complete, the project shall be scheduled for a public hearing. CHAP hearings. At the public hearing, CHAP staff presents recommendations to the Commission regarding the project. Following the staff presentation, the applicant may make a presentation to the Commission. Interested parties, including neighborhood associations, have the opportunity to provide public testimony. Following testimony, the Commission renders a decision on the application at the public hearing. Persons aggrieved by the decision of the Commission may seek judicial and appellate review in accordance with the Baltimore City Code. After an authorization to proceed is issued, the applicant may obtain a building permit. The Commission's response is impartial, and staff's comments are evidence that assist the Commission in rendering decisions. I would like to make a motion to approve the final agenda. Do I have a second? Second. All in favor? Aye. Any abstain? The ayes have it. On our agenda today, 209 South Bethel Street, Falls Point Historic District, the request, demolition hearing 1, determination of architectural significance, application, Housing Authority of Baltimore City. Staff, Mr. Eddy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, ladies and gentlemen. We have a request from the Housing Authority of Baltimore City for the demolition of 209 South Bethel Street in the Fells Point Historic District. The property is located here at the northern edge of the historic district, just off of the Broadway corridor. The property is located facing west on the east side of South Bethel Street, just below Pratt Street, and facing what was once the Perkins Homes housing complex. Here's the property in question. Is a sole remaining structure on Bethel Street, surrounded by open lots that did at one time have copies of the same row home. Background, property has not been reviewed by CHAP staff or the Commission since the creation of the district in 2007. The property is located, as I said, here in the Fells Point Historic District. Historically, looking back through the historic maps we see here in 1822, it was just fields. Structurally, it then appears in the 1857 city and Napa County of Baltimore. So we surmise from the architecture and from the maps that it was built between 1840 and 1850. The structure actually does show up in the 1869 Saxe bird's eye view of Baltimore, along with its other similarly constructed row homes along Bethel Street on both sides. Here we see a good view of the building in question, colored in yellow, on South Bethel Street, surrounded by numerous copies of itself at the time. By 1941, the blocks across the street were demolished for the construction of the Perkins Homes public housing project. And the blocks were in question were targeted for slum clearance at the time. Okay, so the building currently, sorry about this, it's just not reacting. Okay. So the Perkins Homes began to be demolished in 2021, and it's being redeveloped for a mixed income community. We see the building here as it sits on South Bethel, looking at it, looking south on the site in direction of, we see the former Perkins Homes site to the right and the historic district on the left. Here, the house stands alone in a vacant lot area at the intersection of Pratt and South Bethel Street. And looking from the south, south looking north, we see the building sitting alone again on South Bethel Street, and what is now more under construction and nearly complete new structures of the Perkins site. The building, as seen from the rear elevation, looking westward. This view shows the building as we see up the block of South Bethel Street. At one time, the entire, as the historic map shows, the entire row would have been several duplicates of the this type of row home. And a closer view of the current context. There are some later garage structures that came in and replaced some of the row homes to the south, and a view looking from south on South Bethel Street. This is the south elevation. The structure that, as you see here, the property is a 2.5-story, 2-bay wide brick alley house. It is a restrained Greek Revival style and historically referred to as a 2-story with an attic house. We see the remaining side wall of where one of its duplicates was constructed, 211 and 213 South Bethel Street were in the Fells Point Historic District in 2007. They were removed under emergency demolition procedure because of their extreme deterioration. The buildings north of the building were demolished prior in the late 1990s. Here we see the straight on forward view of the house as it remains. We see the 2 stories with the attic level, side gable roof. The north elevation here shows where the, as on the south elevation, CMU block was put in to try to save the building. The building had been in private ownership until earlier this year when Housing Authority finally was able to purchase the property. Close-up view shows the building structurally is intact on the front facade. The windows retain the original frames, but they have replacement sash packets put in on the first and second story, and the attic level does appear to be possibly original. The proposal, quite simply, is a request for demolition of the building. CHAP staff applied 3.6 demolition hearing 1 determination of architectural significance and 2.2 criteria for designating districts and landmarks. Constructed in 1848 and 1850, 2009 South Bethel Street is a Greek Revival 2-story with attic alley house that was built for working class families. This block of 200 South Bethel Street was surveyed in 2000 by Dr. Mary Ellen Hayward as part of the Alley House project. The houses are a significant are significant as representing the two-story and attic gabled roof houses built in the late 1840s and 1850s to accommodate the growing labor force centered around the Baltimore waterfront and the current mode of building designed to meet the need for efficient, low-cost housing for a growing working-class community. It goes on to note the houses were built at a time when the Fells Point was still an important shipbuilding center for the growing town of Baltimore. Early occupants included people involved in the maritime trades, small-scale craftsmen, and laborers who made their homes in the smaller scale, more affordable housing located on the small alley streets of Fells Point. Until about 1850, Bethel Street was known as Apple Alley, and its occupants were racially mixed. Based on historic maps and photos, 2009 South Bethel was a carbon copy of other matching row homes in this and several other blocks in East Baltimore. Due to slum clearance and other factors, almost all the row houses on this block, as well as the surrounding alley streets, have been demolished. 209 South Bethel Street is a rare remaining example of the two-story and attic Greek Revival-style worker housing in this part of the historic district. The building retains architectural integrity, and the facade has remained largely unchanged. The property retains the original unaltered front and rear brick walls, and windows and doors have original framing and trim and retain the original sizes. Property meets Criterion 3 as it embodies distinctive characteristics of a type, period, or method of construction, or that represent the work of a master, or that possesses high artistic values, or that represent a significant and distinguishable entity whose components may lack individual distinction. Neighborhood comment. The applications were shared with the Fells Point Design Review Committee. They recognize the building is dilapidated and part of a string of alley houses that is almost entirely gone. They see no residential setting to preserve, so they are not opposed to the demolition. Analysis. The staff has reviewed the architecture and the history of the property and determined that the structure still meets criteria 3 for designation. It embodies the distinctive characteristic of the two-story and attic-style house from the period of the 1840s through the 1850s. Recommendation. Staff recommends a determination that the building contributes to the historic district of Fells Point. Thank you, Commissioners.
Eddie, thank you. Commissioners, do you have any questions for Eddie?
Yes.
We haven't had an applicant from Housing Authority of Baltimore City in a while, right? I'm curious, like, what is that? You know, like a lot of times we look at this for significance. It goes through demo 1, and let's say it's deemed significant. The second, and hearing 2, there's
There'll be presentation
for
economic
hardship,
or
right.
structural.
But from the Housing
reports.
Authority, is that different than, say, like a private owner? I'm curious. What's
No, they'll still go through the same procedure.
same? Okay.
Okay. Eddie, thank you. Do we have any representative from the city that would like to come up?
Yes.
I'm going to give you full name.
Michael Ryan.
Oh, when you get to the mic. I'm sorry, Michael. Yep, go right ahead.
Good afternoon. My name is Mike Ryan. I am a project manager in the Housing Authority of Baltimore City's Planning and Development Department. I want to thank the CHAP Commission and thank Mr. Leon on presenting the matter before the CHAP Commission. The Housing Authority of Baltimore City has submitted a request for the approval of the demolition of 209 South Bethel Street. As the CHAP is aware, 209 South Bethel Street is part of the Fells Point Historic District. I also want to mention 209 South Bethel Street is also part of the Perkins Somerset Old Town footprint, also known as PSO. Baltimore City and the Housing Authority were awarded a Choice Neighborhood Implementation Grant in HUD's 2017 funding round. The award served as a catalyst in private and public funding invested. Part of the grant award process was to survey the residents of Perkins homes. The feedback we received from the resident surveys had a strong emphasis on homeownership in the neighborhood. The corner of South Bethel Street and East Pratt, which is across from the former Perkins Homes, was identified as an ideal site for future homeownership opportunities. The 2017 Choice Neighborhoods application identified 1625 to 1639 East Pratt Street as a target location to provide homeownership opportunities within the PSO neighborhood. HABC was also able to obtain ownership of lots 203 through 207 Bethel and 213 South Bethel. In February of 2025, as Mr. Leon noted, we purchased 209 South Bethel Street with the intention of demolishing lots for purposes of building homeownership opportunities in the PSO neighborhood and delivering on the promise that HABC received when we received the Choice Neighborhood Award. I am before the commission to request the consideration that 209 South Bethel Street be approved for demolition on grounds of lacking historic integrity. 209 South Bethel Street was part of a group of row houses that has since been demolished, and with the leveling of the surrounding houses, the building lacks significant historic integrity and context to prevent future homes from being constructed on the site. The needs of the community members have evolved over time to optimally meet the needs of the community while also maintaining neighborhood historic architecture. It is HAB's request that the existing structure be demolished with the end goal to build durable homes consistent with Fells Point's historical architecture. I also want to note that 209 South Bethel Street, we took a look in the building to see if there were any oil lamps in the basement. And to our discovery, it was property slab on grade. I also just want to thank the commission for your time and consideration.
Thank you, sir. Commissioners, do you have any questions for the city? Okay, go ahead.
Hi. What exactly will that site be used for?
To put between townhomes essentially that we would obviously come back for in the future to get approval for any sort of new construction, but we've secured most of the lots on that corner. So the overall size of those lots, if we're not able to demolish 209 South Bethel Street, then we would have to make the neighboring townhouses smaller also, just because of the size of the 203 through 207 Bethel Street. So it would have a ripple effect on how big the optimal size for future residents of the townhomes.
Then my second question is, what's going to happen? Are you going to come back regarding the school? I'm thinking that it's an old Polish school. Is that a historic property? And I know that's not what's on the plate today, but I'm just wondering, given its proximity to that house.
Hi, I'm Cynthia Newman Lynch. I'm the Senior Vice President of Planning and Development for the Housing Authority. With respect to the school is actually a city project. It's not a housing authority project, so I would defer to the city to answer any of those questions about the school. What I will tell you is that diagonally across the street from the corner that we're talking about is the existing Lombard Middle, which is slated for demolition, and I've been told it will happen as early as this month. So one of my other concerns is, and I'm not sure if you covered this, is we've had dumping, constant dumping. We've cleaned it up multiple times, and now we have people who are living on the vacant site. So we would like to be able to quickly move forward, demolish the site, and then fence it in anticipation of the future homeownership townhomes that would go there. But in the interim, it's very hard to keep up with the site and all the activities that are going on in it. I'll leave it at that.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you. And Commissioners, I did just want to clarify that the concerns about the potential impact of retaining this building and the impacts to the future development would be something to be considered under hardship request in hearing 2, should we go to hearing 2. Okay, thank you.
Just a real quick question. What's the two-part question? You had mentioned that you've secured every site around in that corner except, or even
One.
209.
The one immediately to the right, if you're facing 209 South Bethel, is privately owned, but my understanding is we are trying to work through a process with that. I believe it's heavily leaned.
And what's
211.
211? Okay. And what's the time frame for this project as you foresee?
Our project or acquisition of that privately held lot?
For the house, for the new housing, for the new townhomes.
In the next probably 12 months or so.
And are you developing yourselves, or is that going to be offered up to developer?
So part of PSO is that we have 4 developers. And so when we put this out, one of the developers is partnering with another entity. And so it's one of the related partners with PSO.
So you're just so I understand, you're tasked to acquire and prepare, and then it would be done by a private developer.
Correct.
To do the work. Okay, I just wanted to understand that.
Thank you both. Are there any other commissioners that have any other questions? Okay, seeing none. Tariq and Anthony, do we have anyone online? Okay, thank you. And I do not have a sheet in front of me for public testimony, so thank you both.
Thank you.
Okay,
It's in the front.
hold on. You can't speak well. Tariq, can you take us back to the first, to the recommendation page? Yes. Thank you, sir. Appreciate you. Commissioners, before we render a decision, is there any conversation that you'd like to all have amongst one another? Okay, seeing none. Hold on. Michael spoke, and your name again?
My name is Cynthia Newman-Lynch.
Okay. And Ms. Salter. And you signed up for it? Yeah, I'm sorry. Ms. Salter, you want to come up and speak?
I asked some
If you want to, you can.
Can I ask some questions first?
Okay.
Can I
Go.
ask some questions?
So by nature, you don't ask questions to the commissioners, but you are allowed to give public comment related to 209 Bethel. So you have that opportunity.
My questions are, why aren't there any pictures of the interior? My question is, how much does it cost to demolish a building? How much does it cost to have asbestos test? How much does it cost to remove asbestos, PCBs, lead paint, nitrogen oxide, nitrogen dioxide, et cetera, et cetera? And you probably will add up all that money and realize that moving it would cost maybe the same or better. I think this is the resolution for this property. These properties are expensive in the Fells Point, and people love history, and they love to know that they purchased something, especially when Baltimore City is attempting to address vacant lots. I'm sure a small house like this could find a really nice new home on a vacant lot in Fells Point.
Thank you.
So please consider my resolution to do what's best for this beautiful house, as well as preserving history, which is what you're supposed to do, because you didn't do it with Cab Calloway's house, which could have been rebuilt and had the color matched by reusing the same bricks. So let's do something different and preserve this little house, and get rid of a vacant lot in Fells Point. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing that there's no other public testimony or none online, back to the commissioners. Commissioners, for 209 Bethel Street, Fells Point Historic District, the recommendation from the staff. Staff recommends a determination that the building does not contribute I'm sorry, does, forgive me. Let's go back in time. Recommendation, staff recommends a determination that the building does contribute to the historic district of Fells Point. Thank you. Do I have a motion to accept the staff's recommendation?
I'd like to move on staff's recommendation.
Do I have a
Does
second?
contribute.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any abstain? The ayes have it. Thank you. Next, and finally on our list, 114 West Lexington Street and 207 Park Avenue, 5 and Dime District. The request, concept review, deconstructing and reconstruction facades. The applicant, Filat Architecture, and the staff is Caitlin.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. As the chair stated, I have to present to you 114 West Lexington Street and 207 Park Avenue, which is in the 5 and Dime Historic District. The request is a concept review to deconstruct and reconstruct the facades. The applicant is Filat Architecture, and I, Caitlin Audette, am staff. We're becoming really familiar with 5 and Dime, sadly, for not the right reasons. But this is in the 5 and Dime Historic District. You may recall this from previous times when this has come to the commission. It's at the corner of Lexington and Park, facing the meadow, kind of kitty corner to the super block. And here's a more detailed view. So the two portions that we're discussing today are of this consolidated lot are 114 West Lexington, which is the second building in on Lexington Street from Park Avenue, and 207 Park Avenue, which is the second building in north on Park Avenue. And this is what those buildings look like. So you can see on the left, 114 West Lexington, a 3-story storefront, as well as 207 Park Avenue, which is a 4-story brick building. So there's a lot of background here. As you may recall, the commission reviewed demolition hearing 1 for all 3 buildings, so 114 West Lexington, 116 and 120 West Lexington, and 207 Park Avenue, and determined that the buildings all contribute to the 5 and Dime Local Historic District. Then in August of 2023, the commission completed a demo hearing 2 review for 114, 116, and 207, where it approved the demolition of the corner buildings, 116, 120, and disapproved the demolition of the 2 buildings under discussion today. The commission reviewed and approved then in 2024. The commission reviewed and approved a conceptual submission for new construction for all 3 of those buildings. And this would include the large-scale rear additions behind the retained facades of the 2 buildings in question. And then in November, the commission approved the final design of the new construction with the following motion: that approval with the recommendation that the design team explore options for the ground floor condition and change in materials. So the final details to come to staff. So the proposal initially the proposal is to deconstruct and reconstruct the facades at the 2 properties, 114 West Lexington and 207 Park Avenue. So previously, the development team plans called for the retention of the smaller scale storefronts, along with the construction of the new 6-story structure at the corner that would incorporate the facades into the new construction project. Upon closer inspection, as they've begun to get ready for the project, they had a structural engineer and the contractor out on site. And the structural engineer has a letter, which is on the WIC site, which states that after thorough review of the 114 West Lexington Street and Park Avenue facades, Field and Tongue believes it will not be feasible to maintain their structural integrity while construction of the new buildings is ongoing. Both existing buildings are 3 stories tall, and the existing front facades have large storefront window openings centered on the wall on all stories. This means that only a limited amount of solid brick remains on both sides of the 2 front facades, creating tall, slender wall sections. Since these slender sections of the wall are the only portions of the front wall facade that extend from the ground floor to the roof, they are the only portions of the wall that would temporary shore and brace would be installed on if the wall was wide enough. So basically, this is saying that you can see in this image that those are the areas where the brick goes down to the ground all the way up, and that is where any shoring would have to be installed. The contractor, Southway Builders, also submitted a letter that, again, they do not believe that they can safely retain the facades at either identified building, in part due to the way the facades meet the ground. with a limited amount of structural material touching it. Additionally, the structural engineer states that furthermore, in order to support the facades of the 3-story buildings, the horizontal leg of the temporary bracing and shoring would need to be substantial in length to properly stabilize the walls. However, the area of the sidewalk in front of the building is too narrow for the horizontal leg length required. And this would impact the sidewalk and also the street. And both the structural engineer and the contractor have determined that it is not feasible or safe to retain the facades. So for our application of guidelines, we looked at 1.2.1, masonry general. And the applicant has retained a structural engineer to determine the feasibility of exterior shoring and has been determined that the facades are poorly supported along the facade and any shoring would extend into the street for the duration of the construction. So these guidelines state that you should consult a structural engineer when necessary, which they did. And then we used 1.2.5 stone, which addresses demolition deconstruction specifically, whereas the brick section doesn't. So just in case you're wondering for that discrepancy. And these guidelines state that you should only remove or rebuild substantial portions of stone masonry walls for structural integrity reasons. So the applicant has demonstrated that there are structural integrity issues, which is the driving force behind the request. Staff believes that the applicant has made a strong case that the deconstruction and reconstruction of the facades is the only viable option to save these elevations. The applicant will need to provide a detailed summary of the proposed deconstruction process, storage of the masonry elements, and reconstruction to staff. For neighborhood comments, notice was sent to the Downtown Partnership of Baltimore, Market Center CDC, Mount Vernon Belvedere Association, and Baltimore Heritage. The Market Center CDC responded with an email in support of the proposal. No other responses were received. For our analysis, again, as we stated, structural integrity issues are the driving force behind this request. The commission previously approved the demolition of the rear portions of these two buildings, but with that, we now have a limited structural masonry at the facade of the two buildings due to their design and the design of the storefronts. So these two facades do not have sufficient structural integrity without the additional structural supports to support the facades. So staff believes that the applicant has made a strong case that the deconstruction and reconstruction of the facades at 114 West Lexington and 207 Park is the only viable option to save the historic facades. Staff recommends approval of the deconstruction and reconstruction of the facades with final details, including a detailed summary of the proposed deconstruction process, storage of the masonry elements, and reconstruction to be reviewed and approved by staff. Any questions? Yes.
So is their proposal to deconstruct?
Yes.
The building and then reconstruct the facade?
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
Just a quick question. The structural engineer, is it the engineer of record for the proposed project, or is it a third party?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
Structural engineer, contractor, and architect are on the call when they have questions.
Oh.
So, and Powell, so the chat.
Yeah, so they might be able to answer that question for us.
Okay, so I'm just curious. Yeah.
Did Anna recuse yourself?
Yes.
Yes, she did. Yep. Yeah.
It's already in the minutes.
In the minutes. I'm sorry. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
The recommendation just has the storage of masonry elements. How about all the architectural? press
Storage of
metal?
everything, yes.
Okay.
The whole facade, sorry. So to be realistic, the windows would need to be replaced. So there might be certain specific elements, which is part of that more detailed review that we would need to be a part of.
I mean, we could just strike the word masonry.
Perfect.
Thank you for that question, Peter. Kate, I was just going to ask you, this front facade, it didn't have cast iron, right? I'm just asking since I was educated.
No cast iron.
Okay,
sadly.
all right, because
if it had cast iron, it probably wouldn't be as unstable.
right. Okay, I appreciate that. Any other questions for Caitlin? Okay, it's my understanding we do not have any testimony, one who'd like to testify in public, but do you have anybody online?
Can you?
And use your mic, Anthony. Use your mic, Anthony.
Nobody online has reached out that said they wanted to testify, but if you have questions, like I said earlier, for the contract and architect, they are on the call.
Okay. Thank you, Anthony. We're at our recommendation page. Commissioners, seeing that we don't have anyone who'd like to testify, Do you all want to have any conversation before we do a recommendation?
Well, I think we had we were just considering that we may change the word masonry in the recommendation to salvaged, so it read storage of salvaged elements in a more generic fashion.
Anyone else? Okay, seeing.
Could I just answer the question about the structural engineer?
Why don't you come up here and introduce yourself, Chooks, and you can answer the question.
Chuck Socorro, developer on the project. I don't want to testify because you guys scared me last time. It was terrible. I didn't want to come here.
You're
really.
testifying now, so
But
go ahead.
I'm just. Oh no, I tried. But the gentleman's question about Tung. So yeah, Tung's the structural engineer on record, so he's not a third party. So I was hoping that he'll answer that question. But any others?
No, sir.
Okay.
Appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. For 114 West Lexington Street and 207 Park Avenue, 5 and Dime Historic District, concept review, deconstruction, and reconstruct facades. Recommendation, staff recommends approval of the deconstruction and reconstruction of the facades of 114 West Lexington and 207 Park. Final details include a detailed summary of proposed deconstruction process, storage of and we're taking mason route and we're putting what? Salvage elements, and reconstruction to be reviewed and approved by staff. Do I have a motion to approve the recommendation?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any abstain? We have one that abstained. That's right. Okay, the ayes have it. Thank you. Seeing that there is nothing left on our agenda, I want to thank you all for participating in today's hearing. I call this meeting to a closure, but before I do that, any old business? Any new business?
I have a quick question.
Yes, ma'am.
So I wasn't here at the August meeting. I'm wondering if I should abstain from approving the minutes. Okay.
Okay, let's go back in time. So
Sorry, I know.
it's okay. No, you're good. You're good.
Yeah.
I appreciate you. So we just put up saying, okay, duly noted. Okay, any old business, any new business? Okay, seeing none, I call this meeting to adjourn at 2:14 p.m. on 9/9/2025. Have a great day.